All right. Thank you very much and welcome to the webinar. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, especially our speakers, Drew Long and Tim Dollahite from NC Department of Commerce. They're with the Division of WorkSource Solutions. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Mark Peters, with the owner of Piedmont, Carolina, for being here. And to especially thank him for helping me get in touch with the folks from the Department of Commerce. This came about from a conversation we had on a visit at his nursery, and I just wanted to especially thank him for helping me find this resource so that I could help others use it. So as a reminder, we're going to go ahead and just mute all participants today. So if you're not already muted, please go ahead and mute yourself. That way we don't have any background noise while the presentation's going on. And we're going to hold questions till the end if you want to ask them live the way I'm talking to you right now. But there is a chat box down at the bottom if you have a question and you don't want to forget it, or you know, maybe you have to get off the recording or the webinar and you don't want to forget to ask later. Please feel free to put that question down there in the chat box. And then we'll go ahead and answer all of those questions towards the end. So real quick, before we get started, I want to just make sure that there aren't any housekeeping questions from anybody before we get started. Okay, great. Well, then I would like to introduce Drew and Tim from the Department of Commerce. Thank you very much, and take it away.
Okay, y'all hear me good?
Yes.
All right. My name's Tim. I'm supervisor here in the Piedmont area with Department of Commerce, and y'all get to hear Drew here in just a minute, but I'm sure most people probably don't know who we are. I always like to think we're the best kept secret in the state. Just a little bit of brief background. Used to be known as the Employment Security Commission years ago. Few governors back, they decided to split Employment Security Commission up, or most people know us better at that time as the Unemployment Office. But they split us up into two divisions. We fall under the Division of Workforce Solutions and moved us all under Commerce. We're still doing the same thing, which is basically helping people find jobs. It's just a statewide system. Workforce programs. It's based on employment training services. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm going to be fairly quick. Drew's going to go into more detail that with the services we provide. Those services, they're for, not just the job seekers, but employers as well. We kind of split the fence. We work both sides. Neither one is more important than the other. The employers need the workers in order to stay in business. So, and at the same time, the workers, they need the employers so they can maintain their families. But being in the Ag Services Unit, we concentrate on the agricultural field. Your landscapers, your nurseries, tobacco, you name it. If it's farm related, we'll work with it. And we do that with our staff. We have, currently we have 15 ag employment consultants. We just call them AECs because you can't be a government agency, without using acronyms. And they're based in our career centers across the state. And then we have 4 supervisors along with 2 foreign labor coordinators. One does H-2A and the other does H-2B. And then we have a program manager. Now, currently we got a few vacancies. So if y'all know of anybody wanting to step in and work for the state, we'd be glad to talk to them. But here's just a little quick map. You can see how we have the state broke down into our 4 regions. The blue stars are where the AECs are located in those career centers. And so, they're spread out across the state. Now you can see some gaps like in the Piedmont region. They're all kind of on the outskirts of the region, but every one of those counties are covered. For example, I'm gonna say like Guilford County. There's not an AEC located in there, but you've got one up in Surrey County. Her name's Lene. You can see her waving at you. Drew's down there in Sanford. You'll get to see him in a minute. And then we have one in Oxford also. Myra, she was unable to be on the video, but she's supposed to be on listening by phone right now. But they converge on that area. Guilford's kind of in the center. So we're going, Mark, he's joined with us. They've been able to work with him, to help fill his needs. So, just because there may not be one close by doesn't mean they can't help you. And then, of course, the Red Stars, that's where the supervisors are located. And right here is just an ag directory. And I'm thinking, this can be made available to people. If not, we'll get you a copy. It's got everyone's contact information and where they're located. And, so if you're not sure, who you can contact, you can always call your NC Works Career Center within your area. They should be able to line you up with it. If not, let me know. I will make sure that the ones in that area will get in touch with you. And like I said, that's the first page. Here's the second page. You see a couple of vacancies. Like I said, we've got a couple of openings right now. So while I've got you here, I'm going to throw the plug in. So, if you know of somebody interested, please give us a holler. Now, really, I think what everybody's interested when it comes down to labor, really there's 4 different options. You got the local labor, which is what most people utilize, and I think most of AECs get the calls for. Then you've also got intrastate, interstate, and then H2A, H2B, and perm, which, in the foreign labor category. And we'll get into all of that in a minute, but the easiest way for me, I guess, to explain kind of the labor situations is, for example, and Mark, I'm going to use you as an example again. They were out to a visit at the Mark's nursery. He had some labor needs, so, he was telling them what he needed, how much he's willing to pay, what the qualifications are, and they took that information. They're going to create a job order, and all our job orders go into NC Works. That's our computer program, and it's just a database where anybody, it's on the internet. Anybody theoretically anywhere can get on it and search for jobs. But realistically, it's going to be in North Carolina, and mostly, searching within local counties. They're going to need some basic information from the employers. Your tax ID number. Have to apply for UI account number if you don't already have one. But they're going to take that information with all the criteria, create a job order, and it's going into the career centers. Now, they're going a little bit extra step doing with ag. That's the part I love about this program, because we get to deal on a personal basis. You don't just put it out there and wait for people to find it. ACs, Drew, Lene, Myra, they're going out. They'll go hang flyers in the grocery stores, gas stations. Heck, there's times they'll even go to the trailer parks or communities, apartments, and knock on doors. They really spread the word. Deal with a lot of organizations, community organizations to spread the word. So they're going to put it out there, and then however you want them. If you want them to contact you directly, or come through us, fill out a job applications, whatever you'd like. But it's all local. Now there's another step, and I'm going to jump to the next slide. We call the ag recruitment system. If you want to expand this search, say if you have a housing, or you're looking to get into housing, you're going to have a great need coming up in the future. We can expand that search, to the intrastate, which is statewide. Now, it's basically the same format. There's just a form that basically we're going to help you fill out, or even fill it out for you and let you sign it. Just state, the, terms and conditions of the job. You're going to provide them housing from such and such date, such and such date, be paid whatever your dollar amount. And then it's going up to our manager in Raleigh. We keep that one in-house. And what that allows us to do is, we'll do the local search, and, we can run it for however much you like, whether it's 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, we'll search it. Well, then it opens it up to where we can contact some of the other AECs down east, eastern part of the state, western part of the state, but primarily usually in the east, because that's where the larger labor crews are located. I ain't had enough coffee this morning, so bear with me. But we can contact them and say, do you have a crews available, somebody that's looking for work? And we can actually bring them crews up, transport them across the state, and then they'll work for you on your on your employment. So, and then there's an extra step that's interstate. We can actually recruit in other states. Now that one we can't keep in-house. It goes to our manager in Raleigh. They're going to look over the paperwork, and then it's going to be sent to Chicago to the ETA, or the Employment Training Administration, their headquarters. They're going to look over those terms, and then they're going to tell us which states to advertise in. Usually, looking around 4 or 5 states. They're called them supply states. They'll usually, it's like Virginia, South Carolina, Florida. Could be some others, and we'll advertise, and your job order is actually listed there for people to see. That's a little more in depth. Most of the people we deal with are, utilize the local area, but that is an option that is out there, and of course it's all free. That's the best price. You can't beat it. Your tax dollars have already paid for it. Now there is another step that we can jump up into. That's the H-2A program. Anybody that's not interested, that is a guest worker program where you can bring workers in from a foreign country for the season. Now, I'm gonna mention H-2A because that's usually the one we kind of deal with the most. It comes through our office. It's the agricultural. Now, H-2B is the non-ag, and they're very similar. Your nurseries will be under the agricultural. Forestry, that has just this year going to be classified as ag for this program. H-2B is your non-ag. That's your groundskeepers, your landscapers, can be any other non-skilled work. But now that's a little different. I'm not going to hit a whole lot on it because I really don't deal with it. We do have a coordinator that does, and you'll have her information because I know just enough to be dangerous. But the H-2A, it is very similar. It actually builds off of the ARS system. Most people utilize an agent. Not necessary, you don't have to, but it just allows you to bring workers in if there is a need, and you have to prove that it's not going to jeopardize anybody here, any U.S. workers. That's the whole purpose of the ARS system backgrounded before the H-2A program. You've advertised, you've proved. There's just there's no one available, so there is a need for it. But again, we're not here. Drew's going to really talk more about the major services, so I'm not going to dwell a lot of time on this. But, like I said, the H-2A program, it is there. If anyone is interested in it, we're glad. We don't really promote it because that's not our job. We'll assist you. They run through our office. We have someone in Raleigh that our coordinator, he looks over them and then makes sure all the information is correct, and it gets sent to the processing center up in Chicago. And then we post the job orders. But our job is really to recruit U.S. workers for them, if we can. Not always the case, but biggest thing, H-2A is agricultural. The H-2B, like I said, that's non-ag. That's going to cover in the, your groundskeepers, landscapers, that type. of work. Now, there is a cap on those visas. So, it currently is at 66,000 visas nationwide. So, again, we test the labor market, see if there's any workers available, and those job orders are advertised. I know I have went fast, but I wanted to make sure I left enough time for Drew to get in on the services, and I'm going to let him take over with, kind of talking about our website and kind of really what we do.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Drew Long. I am an agriculture employer consultant here in the Piedmont of North Carolina. I'm going to try to quickly give y'all just the nuts and bolts of what we do. I think Tim's done a pretty good job on giving you the mission and kind of quick synopsis of our program and how it operates. Long story short is really what we do as field people is try to find new employees and then try to find employees jobs at y'all's facilities. We're trying to connect the two parties. We utilize our online system for North Carolina. As you see, the title of this slide is NC Works. That is the state's version of Indeed. NC Works can do lots of things fairly well. It's a fairly large database that is really good at crunching data. I don't quite think it's going to get you the hits. If we strictly used NC Works to fill your jobs without boots on the ground, without what we're doing, I really don't think that the employers on the ag side would get enough candidates to truly fill those jobs. But we need to explain that we do operate under NC Works. So for us to help recruit for your jobs, we need to post it on NC Works online. That's one of our obligations to do. And you see, as employers, we can help find you candidates. This can be unskilled candidates. This can be skilled candidates. We're really getting more into the skill as well. In the past, our emphasis have been really strictly manual labor, ag crops, tobacco, sweet potatoes. We haven't done a whole lot with nurseries in the past just because we've been so busy with tobacco. As tobacco is phasing out, we have more time, and nursery seems to really be strongly growing in the state. So we're really trying to capitalize on that and to assist our nursery employers, which are having a more difficult time filling these labor needs. So we can help find candidates, we can post your jobs, we can find labor market information. Even in my area, it amazes me to see how different the labor market changes. You get closer to Charlotte, you get closer to Greensboro, these cities, you really have to pay more to recruit U.S. candidates. It's just simple facts. But you can go to poorer communities and poorer counties and you don't have to pay as much. So we can let you know kind of what your neighbors are getting workers for and try to help you get the most bang for your buck, but still be able to recruit you some candidates. And again, he mentioned the job seekers. I think y'all are really geared towards helping the employers, your commercial nurseries. So really that's what I'm going to keep our emphasis on here. So I think I gave you some of the meat and potatoes there. We can also hold job fairs on your behalf. This is one thing that's really been underutilized, but we're really starting to do. We work across multiple counties and we have multiple career centers in those different counties. So we don't mind, and that's what we're doing today, and we did yesterday, and we're doing probably a couple times a week at least until early summer for different employers that's holding job fairs. And some days we'll get more candidates, some days we'll get less, but we can come out here and pretty much be a face for yours and multiple organizations trying to find candidates within multiple career centers. We're also in the process of reaching with high school FFA programs and community colleges and hopefully universities as well to start recruiting some more skilled talent. If we're going to keep our industry alive and keep our industry growing, trying to promote more people getting into and understanding that they can make a good career and make a living out of this industry is very important and very crucial to keep it operating decades and down the road. Very important to us. I'm really enjoying that aspect of it, not just finding unskilled labor, but really trying to fill the needs and try to recruit our next generation of agriculture employers and nursery employers into the industry. I really think this is very important. And as I mentioned, we've worked in multiple counties. We can really unite multiple NC Works career centers. And within the counties, if y'all are unfamiliar, a lot of times these are known as the unemployment offices, what everybody calls them. That's not what they're known as anymore, because unemployment is actually basically one centralized system. So the old unemployment offices are your career centers. So it's where people that may be unemployed are going to look for jobs. We have a presence in all of them, and I don't mean we have an AEC in each one of them, but we cover multiple offices. So we also utilize our career centers as a very valuable resource to us to go from center to center to center and letting the areas around your facility know that we have openings. We would like to go there and hold job fairs so that unemployed people come into office understand that some of our nurseries or some of our landscapers or some of X positions are available in the area, and really advertise that way. We have more boots on the ground and more presence because each of these centers have multiple employees. Okay, I'm not going to spend a long time on this. I'm going to cover it within the next few slides, but just understand, especially as a lot of our nurseries are really starting to utilize more foreign labor. I mean, the tobacco that's happened 10, 15 years ago, we're starting to see a lot more in nurseries, that there may be a lot of questions that nurseries, I guess, to say it politely, it kind of flew under the regulatory radar. They haven't probably had a lot of OSHA supervision and hadn't had a lot of USDOL supervision, but there are lots of laws that our agriculture employers have to abide by, and we can assist them with these. We have a presence pretty much with all these different agencies that regulate agriculture, employment, and agriculture safety and health, and can basically provide just a resource to farmers that say, hey, what do I have to do to comply with OSHA standards for farms? Or what do I have to do to comply with NITSPA, which is the Migrant and Seasonal Agriculture Worker Protection Act? It gets very in depth, but we deal with this pretty much on a daily or weekly basis, and can basically provide guidance for them that's free, whether that's on-site consultations, whether that's taking them the posters that they need, or just answering questions, or if they want to ask a question directly to, let's say, the USDOA or OSHA, but they don't want to send out red flags, we can send that question through us, and they will not know who it comes from, and we can provide answers that way, which I'm probably doing once or twice on a weekly basis now. And I think it's a great resources for these farmers to understand that's available to them. As more switch to H2A, they're going to need houses, and we can help them with housing consultations. We're actually starting to assist the NCDOL actually doing housing inspections in certain areas when they request us to do so. But we work very closely with the NCDOL as well as the USDOL on these areas. We mentioned wages and field sanitation and child labor laws and record keeping. Again, just know that we're a resource to help. I like to tell growers, they're all very familiar with our county extension agents that we have in every county. We can be a similar asset when it comes to labor. They agronomically are phenomenal in different areas, as y'all well know, because that's what y'all do for a living. But we can help them in very similar capacities when it comes to labor and labor regulations. We may not be able to fill all their jobs, but when it comes to questions, we can hopefully answer them or find them an answer, and hopefully point them in the right direction when it comes to filling their vacancies that they have on the farm. I think I have covered most of these. So again, I'm not going to spend a long time. I'm trying to get through this fairly quickly, and really hoping at the very end that we can just have some questions and talk, and we can help just give you a better understanding of what we actually do on a daily basis and what we can provide the growers that y'all deal with. I'm going to go through this. Assist workers. We mentioned that we assist workers by locating agencies to provide them with services they may need. So let's say y'all have workers out there that are having trouble, homeless workers, or somebody that's becoming financial need. Not only can we help put them on the farm, but we can provide assistance to them while they're working on your farm to maybe keep them employed. Because a lot of times some workers doing The lower level jobs do have difficulty paying the bills or difficulty eating, and especially when it comes to if they're seasonal labor and they're laid off for a certain period of time, we can help them in those periods of difficulty find the agencies that they need to get the services during the months they don't have employment. We coordinate service with agencies. I think we do a really good job at this. Again, we work with multiple agencies at trying to find and get our employers and our workers the most bang for the buck, and basically unite people as best we can. Again, I think Mark's utilized as we provide agriculture safety consultations. Prior to this job, I worked for OSHA. I was an agriculture safety OSHA officer. We have others that have safety experience. We love doing these. These are very, very, very instrumental, especially growers that are switching to the H2A program, or again, growers that are kind of flew under the radar. Most of them, no matter how good a job they're doing, and we've seen most growers in the nursery are doing great. There's still little stuff they just don't understand they have to do to comply. And a lot of times we can come out there in a couple hours on the farm, walk through this and give them guidance. If they want to take our advice, great. If they don't, fine as well. It's really no love lost there. It's not like they have to fix anything we're showing them. We're just trying to provide this guidance to A, protect the workers, and then B, to protect them in case they ever did get an inspection by OSHA or any other agency that would regulate that. Migrant housing consultations, if these growers and ASS are switching to the H2A program, when they're starting to add migrant housing, we can help them kind of give them some models and help them seek guidance on getting the most bang for the buck when building that. We can provide labor market information and basically just utilize every program that's available to them to reach, teach the current and future workforces. And again, we're starting to do a lot more of this than what we have in the past. And I foresee a lot more working with our workforce development boards and our different NC Works career centers in different areas. Especially when we're trying to fill some very difficult to fill jobs, whether that's you may need somebody to drive a truck and get a CDL. We can help, maybe you got an employee on the farm or they have an employee on the farm that they need to put behind the wheel. There's programs within these counties that can get that employee and can actually pay for them to go to school and to learn and get a CDL, and then they could be a better asset to the farmer. So there's lots of stuff that's available if they just try to capitalize on it. Farm labor contractors, I'm really not going to cover this. I'm sure there's a lot of nurses that do use farm labor contractors and they have one on the farm. We can help the farm labor contractor register as farm labor contractors and then stay in compliance, keep their license up. He mentioned H2A. As you can well see, we can look back, and if we took it back even 10 years farther, our numbers have drastically increased. And I would say a lot of difference between 18 and 19 and even 19 and 20 is our nursery employers. We in the past just haven't seen many nursery. It's been strong in tobacco and sweet potatoes and produce. As tobacco is dropping off, I would say our nursery orders are really picking up the slack that we've lost there. It's increased. The wages have skyrocketed. Even with the wages skyrocketing, we all know that the labor force is not fully there to sustain all the agricultural labor we need. Thus, that's why we need the program to fill these vacancies that the U.S. workers can't or won't fill. Just another synopsis of that. And you can see our growers are dwindling. And I think you would see from 19 to 20, this has really changed. And probably most of what we lost have been our tobacco growers. And if it hadn't been for the nurseries and these newer crops that we're seeing beekeepers and seeing just really interesting stuff that we've never seen before on these H2A stuff, we would have even fewer growers than that. And this would be North Carolina, just North Carolina, not total growers across the U.S. He threw in an H2AB, and again, this would be for like landscape workers. And this is capped out, and that's why you see it pretty much flatlined. And in a nutshell, I think that is it. We have our contact number there. We would like to provide y'all just a quick one-page synopsis of what we've covered in this presentation, as well as a guidance of the different people in your area that have my job and the supervisor's job. So as y'all work across the state, y'all can realize, hey, I'm in the eastern part of North Carolina, who do I contact? Or I'm in the western part of North Carolina, who do I contact? So you can just have sources out there. So as y'all run across different employers that have labor needs, and even if they don't have labor needs, just let them know we're available. It's not going to cost them a dime. Most of them that don't have labor needs have questions, and most of them that have questions have labor needs as well. So we're just trying to be a resource out there and let them know that we're available and provide the best assistance that we possibly can. Thank y'all for your time, and we'd like to open up to questions if we could.
Well, let's move over first and go to Mark, and then we'll do questions after that. But real quick, what I wanted to just highlight from your presentation is that you can contact the NC Department of Commerce, and they can help you answer your questions, but you're not obligated to listen to what they have to say, and they're not going to raise red flags that, you know, if you say, I'm having problems with X, Y, and Z, they're not going to go and then take that problem and say, hey, so-and-so is having a problem with X, Y, and Z. So the way that you guys think of extension as education, not regulation, it sort of seems like NC Department of Commerce is the same way. They're there to educate you. They're not there to do a lot of the regulation type things. So that's a really exciting thing that I just wanted to highlight, and then also wanted to make sure that we said it again, that all of these services are completely free to the grower. And now I will go ahead and turn the mic over to Mark, and you can tell us a little bit about your experience working with these folks and how they've helped you, and even some of the ways that you may think they could help more in the future, you know, those types of things.
Sure. Thank you, Stacy. Yes, I think going back a little over a year ago, one day Drew and Lene walked in the door and introduced themselves and told me about all these services that they've just been telling you about, and I was blown away. And then when I said, how much does this cost? And they said it's free, I was floored. So they went to work immediately. We put together some job descriptions. Here at our business, we are primarily a nursery operation, but we also do landscaping and landscape maintenance. So we have 3 divisions to the company. And we were looking for people for each division. And we've had, the main thing that they have accomplished for me is they're putting job applicants in front of me that I have an opportunity to interview and evaluate and hire from a pool of people. And I was having a very difficult time with finding a pool of people through normal channels. And that was advertising in the local newspaper, advertising online, and other word of mouth, and just any way I could to let people know that I had job openings here, including putting a billboard, not a giant billboard, but a small billboard sign at the entrance to the nursery. And for a period of time after I did that, we had a few people come in that saw the billboard and applied. But the number of applicants that I've been able to talk to and hire from has been just fantastic with this program. So, you know, we still have turnover. I mean, that it's not a cure-all for sure, but it keeps when I need people, I'm able to go to them, and they very quickly have been able to get the word out. And as I was telling them earlier before we went on live here, I actually had an applicant here this morning when we were doing our run through this morning, filling out an application, and I had one here on Friday as well. And that was after I had just spoken to Drew about it just literally last week. And, you know, so within a period of 5 to 7 days, I had 2 new applicants to interview and talk with. So it's really great. We have 4 people that are here now that have been hired over the past 14 months or so that are still with us, which is fantastic. And we've had, like I said, we've had a little bit of turnover, but we always have that. And so that's not even, I'm not even concerned about that. I'm just thrilled with the opportunity to talk to new people and have an opportunity to tell them about the job opportunities that we have here. And then to Drew's comments about the safety program, I also availed myself of that. And Drew came and we did a very thorough walkthrough of our operation and identified some as he said, some small little details that we were missing on some things as simple as appropriate weatherproof covers on electrical outlets on our loading dock that were missing, a handrail that was missing on our loading ramp. Some things like that could have been really problematic if we had a drop-in OSHA inspection. So I was very grateful for that opportunity as well, to just kind of fine-tooth comb out some of the problems that I didn't see. So I would encourage everyone to take the opportunity to have that done as well, because you may be doing a super job with safety, and I thought I was, but there were several little things that were very important that we had overlooked. So I'm just very pleased with the whole relationship with this group. Lene has done a super job. Drew, Tim, you guys are fantastic. So I'm just glad to plug you and have the opportunity to be here today, and look forward to answering any questions that I can from you all. So Stacy, I'll kick it back to you.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. Everybody that I can unmute. A few of you I can't unmute for some reason.
Safe.
All right, okay.
And if anybody has any questions, I'd like to open the floor up now for you to go ahead and ask questions.
Because she said, wow, you know what, I told her he only does ankles.
2, 6.
Do
All right, okay.
All right, well, I don't hear anybody at this time with any questions, and I don't see any questions in the chat box, which is
Short
fine.
webinar.
I'm sorry, what? So if we don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and close the webinar.
They're on it.
I just want to let you know that I will be,
That's okay.
I'm going to mute everybody again. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Okay, great. So I will be sending out the email with this webinar on it. I will have the ag directory that they talked about. I'll send the NC Works website and the one-page synopsis that Drew was mentioning. That way it's all there in one spot, and then you can feel free to, save that, and if you need it in the future, you'll have all of the information. So thank you again to our speakers and to those of us who were here to listen. I hope that everybody has a really great day. Thank you so much.